Okay.
All right, great. So, Barry, you're going to be the moderator for Raj and ask him some questions. So, would you do a brief introduction, and then we'll let Raj tell us about Grit Seed, and we'll go from there.
Sure. This is Raj. He is the founder of, Grit Seed. So he's going to be telling us about his experience with his business today. So I've got three main questions, and then at some point, if you guys have questions for Raj, we'll open it up for questions. But the first question I wanted to ask was, what was your business doing prior to COVID?
Great. Well, thanks, Barry. And hello, everyone. My name's Raj. Very nice to meet you guys. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you guys and have a conversation. So I definitely would appreciate lots of questions. I'm not a big fan of kind of one-way street conversations. So I'm here to learn from you and hear from you just as much as hopefully you're here to hear from me. So like Barry mentioned, I'm the founder of Grit Seed. Grit Seed is a software company based in Buffalo, New York. Grit Seed is my second company. And prior to COVID, in fact, actually, when I started the company, we were doing our whole go-to-market strategy and approach was very different. So initially, when I started the company, I was strictly focused on recruiting and strictly focused on recruiting software based on this core belief system that anybody that expresses interest in a position should be given a fair and consistent chance for that position. And the fact of the matter is, given it's so easy for people to apply for jobs that, you know, you can get 100, 200, 500 different people applying, it becomes really hard for people in human resources or even hiring managers to connect with everybody and give them a fair chance. So the process that results is doing keyword searches on resumes and then selective interviews based on people that quote unquote match the criteria. But that process is broken. And so we wanted to reinvent that process, and that's really where Grit Seed started. And our approach to reinventing that process was we wanted to make it so the system would automatically give everybody that applies for a job simulation. The system would be focused on informing the people, the candidates, what it was like to work at that company, what that position entailed, and that process was fully automated. So it's almost like recording a hiring manager or a HR professional's first interview or talk through the process and the position, and automating that for everybody. And so that's how Grit Seed started. So we didn't really realize at that time we were building an engagement platform. We were so focused on recruiting based on the learnings of my first company that I'm a software developer by trade, and so we built some very modular components which made it easy for us to pivot. But in essence, really what we were building an engagement platform that was focused on recruiting. And around late last year, we started realizing that, number one, recruiting software is a really crowded space. Number two, when you ask people to change how they hire or even how they do things in general, that's really, really hard to do. I know I should be working out 5 times a week. I don't do that. It's really hard for me to change. So how the hell can I expect other people to change and change their mindset about how they hire people and look at resumes and so on? So that's really hard. So that was problem number 2. And number 3 was we wanted to come up with a sales model that was a lot more transactional. So if you get me on the phone, I'll talk to a lot of people, I'll get them excited. But in order to scale a company, you need a model that can scale with an entire sales team. And so we had to come up with ideas that were more transactional and still, by the way, all of those 3 points that I mentioned, we had to leverage our existing technology that we had worked so hard to build. And so that's how Grit Seed reinvented itself, and we were forced in some ways to even reinvent around the COVID timeframe. We had the seeds in motion prior to COVID, and luckily we were able to very quickly pivot into a full-blown engagement platform, not just for recruiting, but to create simple experiences in all aspects of any business, any organization. Simple experiences, leveraging the power of texting and videos. That's what we do. Does that answer your question, Barry?
It does.
Okay.
So how did you change your business during the pandemic?
Well, number one, we were actually always in the office. So I'm a big believer in kind of collaborating, being in a room with people. You know, we geeks, like myself included, you know, we were always on Slack and text each other or message each other. And I'm a big believer in actually having face-to-face meetings with people, because many a times the message, the communication channel, the energy, the vibe, all of the nonverbal communication that's really hard to project on Slack are much easier when you're face-to-face with people. So we used to always be in the office, but we had to change, obviously. The whole world had to change. And so we are pretty much 100% remote. I'm in the office. Nobody else comes to the office, for everyone's safety. So that was one big change. We all became remote. Most of our team, by the way, here is all of our team members are in the Western New York, Buffalo area. So that was one big change. Number two was we had to learn. I read this amazing book, and I want to show this to you. It's called Building a Story Brand. So please read this book. I highly encourage you all to please read this book. It's called Building a Story Brand. And after reading this book, I had to change how I positioned our go-to-market and our sales strategy. And so that was another big change. We made it less about us and more about our customers, less about us being the hero, more about customers being the hero, us being guides and Sherpas and so on. And so this book is terrific. I'm obviously doing a terrible job in explaining it because I've only said one or two sentences, but you all should please read it. So that was another big change. Our go-to-market changed. And the final point is that going back to our mission, we want to create simple experiences. We came up with some simple ideas of how do people check into an organization. Like, we're required by New York State law now for any organization to keep track of who's coming into their organization, into their space and their facilities. And so we wanted to leverage the power of our engagement platform to create a nice little crisp, seamless experience within 10 seconds, totally contactless, and leverage the power of texting to do that. And that's what we ended up building. That was one of the solutions that we ended up building.
So explain your thought process in making those changes.
Yeah. So the first thing is in realizing that, it's okay to fail. Okay. And when I say fail is not a dead end. Failure is a process. Okay. It's very important. Failure is a process, meaning, what we were doing earlier was working, but there were certain things that made it really hard for us to scale as an organization. And we had to learn from that. We had to realize and learn and see what wasn't working. We had to realize and learn and see where we were falling short. And that process is what I call failure, that introspection and so on, right? So that's really, really important. And, if you ask any entrepreneur, they'll tell you they started here with the hopes of getting here when they first started the company. And if they keep working on a problem for anywhere more than at least 4 years, because 4 years is typically the 10,000 hour mark, right? The line isn't straight, and everybody knows that. It's all over the place, right? And so realizing that is also really, really important. So number one, having the mindset that it's okay to go through a series of steps that results in failure and trying and failure and trying and doing things, having the mindset and remembering that it is expected behavior, that your journey is not going to be a straight line, but it's actually going to be this crazy process where sometimes you just want to pull all your hair out and quit. And that is part of the experience that you will go through as an entrepreneur. Realizing that is very, very important. And then the third thing to realize is you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be kind to yourself because as entrepreneurs, we do a lot with very few resources. And it's very easy to judge ourselves and judge other people that work with us, or customers or employees or partners or whoever, including ourselves most importantly. It's very easy to become negative. And so we have to remember to be positive. We have to remember that, like everyone always says, it is about the journey. It is not about, raising money or hitting a revenue milestone or selling my company and so on and so forth. I built one company, I sold it, right? I know what that feeling is like. And I can tell you for a fact that, the destination is awesome, but it's awesome for like a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. And after that, you get bored. What is exciting is the journey. And that's what we as entrepreneurs have to remember. We have to be excited about what we do. And the best way to know that, the best way that all of us can know that is when we wake up in the morning, are we excited? When we wake up in the morning, are we like ready to pump and just ready to, do whatever it takes? Do we wake up in the middle of the night thinking about what we want to do, how we want to solve problems, how we want to deal with things and situations that are out of our control? Do we remember when we're feeling this small because a customer canceled a contract, or because somebody turned us down, or you thought somebody was going to join your team, or somebody on your team leaves because they don't believe in you and you feel this small? Do you remember what it feels like, to actually keep charging ahead? Those are the things, that's what truly defines the journey. And personally for me, those have been kind of the lessons that I have learned through this kind of 21 months journey so far.
Well, that was it for my questions, but you did that last one, you really got a lot of information in there. So I think the other helpful thing that's going to be is you gave us a little bit about what you have done, what your platform did originally around recruiting. Give us a little bit more information about where you're going right now, because I know your company is hitting on the COVID as far as hitting the 3 questions for New York State and being helpful with that, but you're also finding other platforms and uses for it as you're doing that customer discovery. So
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, this COVID project, this COVID app, right? It's really simple, by the way. You guys want to try it? How many of you have already tried it? How many of you have tried this app? Yes. So I know, obviously, Ashley, Nancy, Barry, you guys have all tried it. Yes. But
Yeah.
can you all please whip out your cell phones? Whip out your cell phone, please. Whip out your cell phones. You'll see what the experience is like. Okay. So say I'm based out of the Baird incubator here, or you know what? I'll give you an example of Acme company, just a sample company. I'd like you to please text the area code 716-412-2133. So 716-412-2133, 716-412-2133, and please text the word visitor. That's it. So you see a big sign before you walk into a building, and you text visitor to that number, and magic happens. Please go ahead. Check yourself in.
Could you say the number one more time, please?
Yes, 716-412-2133.
Okay, it's asking for my name.
Yes, please go ahead. So I see Ed is in the process. Bob Smith. I'm assuming that's just a alias.
No, that's his real name.
Oh, really? All right. Well, Bob, nice to meet you. So as you can see here, the process is totally seamless, contactless, touchless, and you can actually, all the questions that you are seeing on your phones are fully configurable. It takes about 10 seconds to change anything there, including uploading videos and asking people to sign documents. like a waiver form or anything like that. And it can scale from, you all 12 people working on this at the same time to 12,000 people texting at the same time. So I see so far we have Bob, Ed, Kajal, Alan, Nancy. I'm assuming others, Dan and others, Chris and others will try it shortly.
And I hope you're trying it out. I think you'll find this really interesting.
Great.
Yeah, do that for me.
Not to be weird, but what's to keep me from lying? Like,
Yeah, good question. Well, the goal here isn't to, the goal of this exercise is not to get you to, find who are the people that are lying or not, right? The goal is for an organization to track and manage their liability, right? If they don't provide a process in a contactless way for people to come in, then they're liable. They could be liable, could be held liable, right? And so if you choose to say something that may be incorrect, well, then liability, and if something does happen, then the liability could shift over to you, right?
right.
So you have to just be mindful of that, right? So the goal here is to make the process easy so that visitors can actually go through this process and make it, really simple for companies to see it. And so everything that you guys have logged is now in the system, and we can run real-time analytics around this.
And Raj, have you built this so it's bombless, as in, how Zoom was getting bombed during, conference calls, so that someone can't hack into that and send all of the contacts something they shouldn't be seeing? Or some other nefarious thing like phishing or whatever?
Yeah. So the thing is that, we don't believe, just to be really clear, we don't believe that downloading another app, remembering another username and password is all things that be a good experience. In fact, we don't have an app for you to use. If you actually apply for a job using our process, it's very similar. You just you text, sales to a number and boom, off you go. So you're just using your texting product. You're not really downloading anything. So we don't have to worry about that. And then behind the scenes, the people that actually have administrative access to the system, of course, there's a username and password that they can go in and see a list of all the visitors that came in and so on. And so, yes, all of that is protected and it's all stored securely in the cloud.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of apps on my cell phone, by the way. So the fact that it's appless is a plus. Yes,
exactly. So everything you just said is very important. So every time you ask somebody to create a username and password, you just created friction. You just dropped off maybe 50% of the people. Every time you ask somebody to install an app, you dropped off another 40% of the people. Now you're down to 10%, okay? And of those 10%, guess how many people are actually going to continue to engage with you? So for example, if you have to check in every single day, right? If you have to check in an organization every single day, and you were one of those 10% that actually downloaded the app and went through the process, are you going to remember to actually do that every day? No, the answer is no. What you are going to remember is texting, because you use it 2,500 times in a day, right? An average person spends literally 4 to 5 hours a day sending over 2,000 text messages. I mean, the younger ones, right? They do that. It's crazy. It blows my mind. And so what we believed from the very beginning was, if you want to be successful, you must stand on the shoulder of a giant, right? Isaac Newton or somebody said that, somebody really smart. And there is so much truth to that, because the giant in this case actually is not just text messaging, because we didn't just build Gritseed for text messaging. We actually built Gritseed for WhatsApp, which is used by over 2 billion people around the world, for WeChat, which is used by over 1 billion people in China, for Viber, which is used by over 500 million people in Vietnam and in Japan, and Facebook Messenger, which is used by over 2 billion people. So all of these messaging capabilities go directly into Gritseed. For example, you can run a simple ad on Facebook and say, I want to target, let's say if your mandate is to create more jobs and to create more entrepreneurs, and you want to create, you can create a Facebook ad that targets people in a specific zip code, or in a specific geo that fall into a certain income bracket. If you want to, promote entrepreneurship in people that are below the poverty line, give them the resources. You could target them. You can have Facebook target those ads, and boom, with one click, they flow directly into Gritseed, and Gritseed just starts to engage with them systematically, automatically. That just happens. So you don't have to do it. See, you can't scale if you have to talk to 500 people and figure out who the diamonds are out of those 500 people. So you need an automated system that asks them questions, shows them videos, and so on. So I don't know if you guys realized or not, but I actually sent you guys a video. There was a link. So I'll open up, let's say, Kajal, for example, you did not watch that video, and I know that. I can track that. There you go. Right? Let me see who watched the video, and I'll tell you, don't tell me, okay? I'll tell you who watched the video. So let's see. Alan watched the video for 11 seconds. That's it. Alan was the only person that watched the video for 11 seconds. Nobody.
I tried clicking on it, and I just got the spinning thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe if you can try again, it might work. I apologize. Maybe something went wrong.
Kajal clicked on it too, and it did that spinny thing.
Oh. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, maybe we need to look into that a little bit more.
Oh,
Could be internet.
no.
Who knows?
Yes.
Now I got something.
Yes. Awesome. And so, guys, think about the use cases of this, right? Gritseed. Okay, I want you to take away one thing from this, right? Like, we believe in texting and videos, like we talked about, but it has to be a two-way conversation. It can't be Macy's has a 30% sale, blah, 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 broadcast message, or we're going to shut the office down tomorrow for whatever, right? No, those are broadcasts. Oh, you got it. Thank you. Kajal, you got it. Awesome. So the point is that we need to have two-way communication. We need to have two-way communication at scale, and it has to be personalized. And people still pay attention to texting. They don't pay attention to email, but they pay attention to texting. And that's what we're trying to do. Two-way communication at scale in a personalized way using the power of texting, messaging. The use cases, by the way, are just unbelievable. For example, you could have an office building that has a sign in the bathroom. Bathrooms are not clean. Text clean to this number. Off you go. That can be for tenants. You want to, send people messages. Let's say you bring an entrepreneur in, and you want to, ask them 4 weeks after they join the, incubator works. Hey, how are things going? Are we providing you with the resources? The system can automatically send out those scheduled messages. If you want to mass message people and ask them a question, boom, I can do that. Like, for example, right now, I can actually send you all a mass message, all the people that have gone through this process, asking you, what did you think of this experience? So there's a back-end view of Gritseed, which I haven't shown you guys, but I'm not here to sell. I'm here to just talk. So
that the key thing in the process is that how you saw the opportunity to respond to a new need, and take something you'd been working on and say, okay, we can apply it like this. And I know that from some of our colleagues in the incubator network that this is in place in the Trek incubator. And do you have a beta site at a university up and running now?
yes, we've actually had it running now at Baird. We literally went live in, I'm not making this up, we went live in an hour. Okay, so Kimberly Cole, right? Christina and her team, they were using a pen and paper. It's contact, there's lots of contact. So literally we went live in an hour. They had those signs printed, and they went from 4 to 5 people writing because everyone was afraid of writing on a piece of paper to over 50 people checking into this process every single day. Since we went live roughly, I don't know, a week ago or something like that, I'm not even sure, but roughly 10 days ago, we've had over 450 people go through this process.
So it's the whole way of thinking about what is it you're selling?
Yes.
And,
you have an annoyance line, like how much you can send out to people? Do you have guidelines to follow?
Yeah. Well, first of all, yeah, you're right, Ed. No, that's a really important point. Text messaging is sacred. Okay. Text messaging is sacred. In other words, we must remember to give people the power to opt out. And so you can stop at any time and we will never text message you, period. Okay, done. Even if the customer asks to message you, they can't, period. Okay, just be really clear. Number two is when we set this up for customers, we're a small company. So, we prefer, we set it up for customers. And so we recommend to customers, don't send them more than a text message, every 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks or something like that. Don't do it, because you're just diluting your brand and, this. Instead of thinking about, these scheduled messages, let them initiate messages with you so that you can provide an automated, amazing experience for them. For me, that is really important. And that's what you all just went through, right? I didn't send you guys a text message automatically, meaning like I didn't schedule a message and send it to you. You all opted in, which is really the power of this, right? They're opting in. We're not blasting people.
So could you speak to what your process is? You have a new client. How do you get them set up? And then how does it run? Are you creating things for them? Are they creating things? Could you just explain those two things?
Yes. So we know what the typical questions are for New York State based on their guidelines. So we set that up instantly. It takes us about literally 5 minutes to set up. That's how our product is based. And then what we do is we ask the customer, we have them run through a couple of tests. We ask them if they want to tweak something, they want to ask them additional questions or anything along those lines, or do they want to merge those questions? It's up to them. It's the customer that has to decide. We set it up for them. We then get them to finalize and then just confirm everything. The messaging looks good. And then we give them back-end access to the system. And in the back end, they can then see all the analytics. They can see who's saying what. If somebody actually says yes to one of the questions that I actually had COVID or I was in contact with somebody that had COVID, how do you handle that situation? All of that is managed in the application. And so we show them how to do that. And the whole process, start to finish, takes 1 hour.
And then they can create their own text messages and can they parse it by this group gets this and this group gets this?
Exactly. So I asked you to text visitor, but that code can actually be anything, right? So, the code could be incubator, right? Like Trek's code is Trek. Baird Research Center's code is Baird. Or if you wanted to segment your, population into different buckets, like if you wanted to have a different process for employees versus visitors, versus, so on. You can do that. You can create as many journeys as you want. And the system automatically allows you to segment it into nice little buckets so that if you wanted to reach out to employees about something, you can do that very effectively versus visitors. And you can create as many codes as you want, as many journeys as you want. And you can even have people that are part of more than one journey. So for example, you could have, journeys by department or all employees or all, entrepreneurs and so on. And what's really important here, guys, what's really, really important is, in terms of engaging with people, you're not really asking them to go to your website and signing up a form, right? Like, you're not doing that because that is a terrible experience. Pardon me, right? That is a terrible experience.
Always.
Yes, because now where is the form? The form doesn't open on my phone. Like, what's going on? Like, and then you throw in a username and password and that's like, oh my God, I'm done. We're done. Game over. So the point is, you're not asking them to fill out a form. The point is you're asking them to text you, which they already do, which they already love. And it's just very seamless process.
So if I was having an event and I wanted an easier way for people to register for the event and then maybe check in at the time of event so that we didn't have to have a whole table full of people checking people in.
Yeah.
Could it be set up to handle both of those, the registration for the event and then the check-in?
Yeah. In fact, earlier this year in February, 43 North had a massive recruiting event. Okay. They expected over 1,500 people to come to the event. So it was like a job fair. Okay. And last year they had 5 different iPads, and people would come in and check in and they would hand them their resume. Okay, that was the process that they followed last year. This year, the process they followed was when people walked in, there was a big sign: no kiosks, no iPads, no computers. Please text 43 North F43N or whatever. And the system would automatically ask them the questions. The system would also tell them, hey, take a picture of your resume. They could take a picture of their resume. It would go directly into Gridseed. It would be fully parsed and indexed every single keyword in about 10 seconds and make it fully searchable. So the next day, if anybody came to 43 North, let's say a company looking for Python developers, they could literally say, hey, 43 North, do you have access? I'm looking for talent. Can you help me find Python developers? And they can go into their system, into their Gridseed instance, and just type Python, and boom, it'll show them the list of all the people. And they can mass message them. They can mass text message them saying, hey, this company's hiring. If you're interested, here, go through the process.
So if I'm your customer and I'm using you for COVID check-in, and now I want to use you, in addition to that, I want to use you for an event, is that an additional fee? Like, is your fee structure based on how much it's being used or how many parses there are? Could you explain a little bit about fee structure?
Yeah. So we have direct costs and we have indirect costs. Obviously, our direct cost, one of our biggest direct costs, is actually sending the text messages, right? Each text message sent and received costs us money. So we have to price it based on, how many people you're going to be engaging with, right? So that's important for us in order for us to make money, right? Not lose money on a deal. But that said, we're a small company, right? For us, in our stage in our life cycle right now, data about how our customers are using the product, data about what this means for their organization and the impact that this is creating for them is way more important, absolutely trumps dollars. And so what we're trying really hard to do is focus on the impact, focus on creating real change, and try to disrupt things with the hope that we can learn from that experience and we can collectively come up with solutions that create meaningful impact. So for us, that's where our focus is. So this is going to sound crazy, but I built my first company this way. In fact, my first company, the bottom of every invoice, I had a little line which I wrote and said, hey, you don't have to pay this invoice if you don't want to. And the primary reason why we did this is because that helped me stay in check whether were we providing top-notch service that deserved, payment, and were we holding ourselves accountable? Were we creating impact for our customers versus being entitled for the dollars? Right. And I never want to do that because that's the short-term game. The long-term game is about, holding yourself accountable. And so we're trying really hard to follow those same types of principles at Gridseed. And we're focused on the long term. We're focused on what we can do, how we can create frictionless experiences. What can we do to connect people better? What can we do to create opportunity? Those are the things that matter to us. So going back to your question directly, I don't know the answer to that question, but it's something to do with number of people that you're connecting with.
So it sounds like you have the Radiohead business model, right?
Yes.
If they like it, they will pay.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
But in mentoring startups, I think one of the biggest things I see them running into is how to charge for what they have.
Yeah.
What they're offering.
Yes. And that's a really hard problem for us entrepreneurs, right? Like to figure out. And one way to look at it is what Google did, let the market tell you, right? Like the market determines how much you pay for a keyword in terms of, ads and searching and so on. And so I don't know where we'll go, but hopefully we can keep the lights on and, I have a little bit of money saved up for my first company. So we're okay. Yeah.
Hey, I got to tell you, the light bulb just went on my head because I signed into this thinking about my business, which is game design and board games and things like that. But I also have been doing this nonprofit work, which Ashley knows about it because I've acquired the photo that she took of me for my book. The book is called Save Dogs from Distemper.
Yes.
And basically for the past 10 years, I have been running a worldwide campaign to help people find ways to save their dogs from distemper. So I get emails every day from the Philippines, from Texas, from India, from Turkey, from all over the world.
Wow.
People would ask me, trying to get help. And it's like, and I always have to sort out the questions like, do you have a diagnosis? Is your dog in the early stage or is your dog neurological? Can you find a vet? Do you need to find a vet? And it has overwhelmed me and it is really hard to manage. And I imagine when the book comes out, it's going to even be bigger. So I really do need a way for people to reach the information, get sorted, and get the right information back quickly and automatically, so I don't have to worry about it. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be hitting you up later on.
Absolutely, absolutely. No problem, Ed. And, of course, you can't do that over email, right? So, and the people, by the way, want to connect with you over WhatsApp because WhatsApp might be really popular in Turkey. Who knows, right? Like, you're gonna
I've actually had people from India contact me and saying, please call me on WhatsApp. And I'm like, I don't know WhatsApp. It scares the hell out of me. So I try to avoid doing that. But if we can set it up in an automatic system, then I'd be a lot happier about it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Do we have any other questions for Raj? Okay. Well, Raj, we really appreciate your coming and talking to our group today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's always exciting to hear what you have to say. You're welcome to stay with us for the rest of the session, though I know you've got an incredibly busy schedule right now. So if you need to check out, we understand completely.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you guys. I'll just leave you guys with one thing. Please take this one thing away. People want frictionless experiences, and then as you go about your day, thinking about your work, thinking about how you connect with your constituents, think about what that looks like. And if you were happy to chat, like Ed, I'm more than happy to connect with you. Nancy or Barry or Ashley can connect us, and I love to connect. Appreciate the time. I will drop off. I have a 4 o'clock call, which I'm going to go prep for now. But thank you again. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Raj.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I'm going to there's just a couple of quick updates on the PPP forgiveness rules. So I'll give you those 2 quick updates. The first one is you don't have to wait. If you're going for the 24 weeks, you can file for forgiveness at any point when you've spent the money. So you don't have to wait. The other thing is if you're self-employed and whatever you got that basically is the amount of money that you received for your PPP, if you use it to pay yourself, it can all be forgiven. So up to $20,833, because that's that $100,000 rule. But so a couple of pieces of good news in the last week from the SBA. And a reminder that now with the new rules, almost everybody's money is going to be forgiven. Oh, and I was on a call earlier today. I can't remember which one it was. And the likelihood is that Congress is going to change the rules so that you can deduct the expenses that you use the PPP to pay for. So, so that's looking good. All right, so that's the PPP. Barry, anything new on reopening?
No, not really. So it sounds like phase 4 is going to go into effect tomorrow, but it only really includes museums, outdoor types of entertainment. So movie theaters, gyms still closed, malls still closed. So it allows places like the CMOG to open up, but at reduced numbers. So they would be, bringing in, only able to have half the number of people visiting that they typically do. So.
Oh, something that has to do with the governor's latest executive order was a discussion I was in this morning in Workforce, is the quarantine that the governor's placed on people coming into New York State, requiring 14 days of self-quarantine if you're coming in from certain states.
Mm-hmm.
Employers are struggling right now with what to do with employees who are coming back. So now there's a whole series of questions about that, especially because these people have made vacation plans to go different places. So that is going to be a mess.
Wow, you did so many things that are just everyday happenstance, and you just don't realize how that affects the COVID challenge.
Yeah. So
Is that what we're
Stay
calling it
tuned.
now? The COVID challenge?
I said it first.
so, any questions or comments from people on our call before we close? Well, once again, I want to thank you. Several of you have checked in week after week. We really appreciate your time and attention and the opportunity to come together as a community. We hope that you all stay safe, and if something comes up where there's a big change in the paycheck protection or other resources and funding for entrepreneurs and small businesses, then we'll be sure to call up another meeting. But until then, I want to wish you all the best and thank you for your attention over this time. And take care, please. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great afternoon.